Alright guys, welcome back to Throttle. We've got some awesome video content for you guys today. We're kicking off our EK build this morning after a trip over to Industrial Metal Supply in San Diego. We picked up some new materials. We got some 2.5-inch bar stock and also some angle iron so that I can make another driver's side bracket for our lower control arm to keep it where it needs to be so we can start building this K-member. And also, I have a special guest with me here today. I've got Chris from Vane Stands. They make awesome stands that's gonna allow us to get our motor and transmission off of this Chris, say what's up, Throttle family.
My name's Chris from Vane Stands and Race Accessories.
We got that. We see it on your hat.
Right here on the hat.
What's cool about your stand, Chris, is I noticed that you actually tilted the engine mount provisions on it so that this is gonna sit exactly how it sits in the car on the stand. Now at night we can pull a car in underneath this Honda and we can park this thing in the corner and bring it right back and do it all again the next day. So, man, it's gonna make my life a lot easier. All right, guys, well, our Vane stand is in place, as you guys can see. It is going to work out perfectly for our application to be able to move this thing in and out of the car as needed.
The next day.
All right, guys, back for another episode of the EK project. We left last night with getting our cross member in place, and now we have to start making the uprights. I'm going to go ahead and use some 2-inch box tubing for that. A little thinner sidewall, so it's a little lighter weight than what we were using for the cross beam. And again, probably way overbuilt for what we're doing, but I think this is gonna be a really stout way to build this thing. And now I just gotta figure out the angles, because as I mentioned earlier, we've got an angle like this, and we've got an angle like this. So this is my first time actually trying to shape metal in these two different directions. So I'm gonna cut a little bit long, and we'll use the grinding wheel to sort of sneak up on the angles and try to get a piece that wedges itself right in there and keeps this thing nice and true. Alright, so I'm trying to weld this into this metal bar here versus this metal bar here, and as you can see, they're pretty offset. So this isn't it can't just be a straight. I know it looks like in the camera it's actually straight, but it's not. It has to kick back a little bit, and it has to go this way, as I mentioned earlier. So I went ahead and just sort of marked this where I think the cut needs to start. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this ear off, and then we'll go ahead and grind it down and see how close we are. This is gonna be a game of trial and error. I'm sure there's some tools out there that you fabrication pros have, angle finders and things like that. I don't have it, so I'm winging it, boys. We'll get there. All right, so here's gonna be our first attempt at this notch. Pretty ugly looking notch. All right, well, Ev just tacked these into place. We went ahead and tried to match the angle on both sides so it has some uniformity to it. And what we'll do is we'll pull this off the car now. Ev will finish weld it up, fill all my nasty gaps, and we'll end up, cleaning all this up, knocking all these hard edges off and make it look really purpose-built. But I'm really happy with the angles. I've allowed myself a little bit more room here by doing that angle for a header that's got to run through here. Over here we're okay, we've got a steering rack that comes down, it's gonna come into here. But all in all, this is what we were trying to accomplish. So now we're on to the next step, which is finish welding and then finishing this component up so that we can start making the provisions for the steering rack. And then we also need to see if we need to maybe put a little notch in it just to clear the oil pan, but we do not have that steel pan yet. When it comes in, we'll figure that out.
There she is, brother. You got yourself a new subframe. It's probably pretty warm, but check out some good welds. Some of them came out really nice, I think. Pretty proud of that. I know you're gonna go through and kind of buff everything nice and clean, and we gotta add some tabs and stuff for mounting, but I think that's our first like real structural thing that we built here at the shop by ourselves.
I think so. All right, so I've gone ahead and rounded off the corners where it's gonna mount to our lower control arm so it has a nice uniform look to it. I've also shaped the top a little bit so it flows a little nicer. All in all, not bad for our first swing at this. I'm always told when you do projects like this, you almost never use your first go at it. So we'll see. Go ahead and bolt this thing back in, and if it's adequate, we're gonna run with it. It's definitely a heavy part, probably weighs 8 pounds or so, but it's pretty durable. So we go ahead and bolt it back in the car, see how it looks. If we're happy with it, we'll continue building on it. I should take a second and actually give a shout out to IMS, Industrial Metal Supply, because they have come through big time on this project. They heard about all the fabricating we're gonna be doing over here, and they decided to help us out and provide us support on this project. So huge shout out to them. They gave us a bunch of materials to use on this project, and what's nice is they're super knowledgeable over there. I'm sort of new to the whole fab game, so they can steer you in the right direction if you're new to fabricating as well. Don't be shy. Hit up IMS. They're great people over there, and they've got locations all over the country. I particularly use the one in San Diego, which has been super helpful, and they have every type of material you need in stock. It's pretty incredible. So the next task at hand is to figure out how we're gonna mount the steering rack. It has to go back in somewhat stock location, and so the factory steering rack, which we're gonna try to use to keep all the steering geometry the same, needs to be as close to the beam that we built as possible, because we only have 6 inches of room from front to back to squeeze all this stuff underneath. There's 2 mounting tabs on the steering rack already on this cast portion over here. Evan and I are trying to come up with a scheme to basically build some tabs off the back of the bar to mount it. And then on the other side, there's a clamp that goes around this, and we can probably reshape that to mount it to the bar over here. Now, so we use a level, make sure we get this nice and straight with the bar. I do see one of the fluid transfer lines here for the rack is going to be a problem because I know that this already is going to be touching the oil pan. So this line is probably not going to work in this configuration. So what we're probably going to have to do is remove this, put 90 fittings on here, and run the line back here behind the rack instead of on top of the rack, which is not a big deal.
A little later.
All right guys, well, our steel oil pan finally showed up, and man, there is a lot less material on this oil pan than the original aluminum pan. As you can see here, obviously I cut a big hole in it, but all of this material back here is not needed for what we're doing with the rear-wheel drive configuration. So this K24 oil pan actually suits our needs a lot better, and it gets rid of a lot of material that's not needed in the back here where our steering rack needs to be placed and our engine cradle needs to go. So I'm glad I ordered this up. It'll also weld up nicer than the cast aluminum. But as you can see, we whacked a pretty big hole out of this thing, and we're gonna do the same to this one. And I've already marked this pan where we're gonna cut it, this line around here, and this is actually gonna stay. This doesn't actually get in the way because the way the pan sits, our beam goes through here and our steering rack sits up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get cutting this and get it back on the engine. Alright guys, well, chopping that pan worked out really good. As you can see, we now have clearance. It's very tight in here. It's a little dark, but we basically have the oil pan sitting on the bar. And what we're going to do, because this is the height we need the engine, we're actually going to take a ½ inch or an inch out of the cross beam and take it down underneath the oil pan a little further because we want to get the motor as low as possible. I've got the tie rod end hooked up and the rack just sort of mounted in here. I did have to do a little bit of clearancing on our JSP Fab transmission adapter plate, and what I did was I've already cut off one of the ears of the steering rack. This used to hang down pretty far, and it could have been used to mount at the bottom of this, but I want you guys to see what we're trying to do is eliminate anything hanging very far down from the bottom of this bar. The oil pan is going to hang down just a minor bit there. As you can see, we've got the shaft going up into the car there through the hole in the firewall. And then on this side, I've got a 2x4 just kind of holding this rack in place. But as you can see, we got a pretty extreme angle. This is a wheel on the hub and at basic track height. And yeah, it's really bad. So we've got some solutions planned for that. That's where we are now. It's time to mount the rack. We're gonna get going on that in the morning. We'll be back and show you how we're gonna do it.
The next day.
All right guys, what's going on? I'm back, and today I'm actually gonna be working on Mickey's Civic. He is out of town for a couple of days, and while he's gone, I don't want his project to just be sitting still. We do have other projects in here, but what's left on this, it's literally just, we're gonna tack weld here. Mickey actually pulled this off last night, right before he flew out of state. He made this bracket that's gonna hold the power steering to the bottom custom subframe that he's building, or the cross member, and we just got a tack welder right there in place. And then we are still making and playing with this side. We made this little half a square angle that's gonna hold it in place, and then we just gotta make the deep portion. Our design was a little bit too long, so I'm just gonna measure from here to here, this gap right here, and I want to make sure that the gap on this side is the exact same thing, and I just by looking at it I know this one is way further. Well, that bubble gum definitely would have been better, but it'll hold it.
All right. I know Ricky is now finishing up the mounting for the steering rack, but we're gonna try something a little bit different for this video because tomorrow I'm heading off to Premium Auto Styling to drop off the E46 M3. And if you guys wanna stick around, you'll see what the wrap color is that we chose on. I'm so pumped on it. So there it is, quick overview. Steering rack is almost mounted. Ricky's working on this side bracket. If you want to stay tuned to this build, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications, because I think in the next video, the EK is finally going to be down on the ground. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to bring you along for the ride to Premium Auto Styling. Damn, that's bright. So we made it. We made it to Premium Auto Styling. We are finally changing the color of the E46 M3. If you guys watched the last video, I put up a little poll at the end. I kind of scrolled through a bunch of different colors and I landed on one. It's a little bit out there, a little bit crazy. A lot of people I did see kind of commented and they really like this color and I absolutely love it. So a huge thank you to Chris over at Metro Restyling. Metro Restyling actually provided the vinyl wrap for this project, and Premium is going to be the one that's going to be installing it. So if you don't know what Metro Restyling is, please check out their website. I'll put a little overlay here. They sell all different types of raw materials and wraps from 3M to Oracle to Avery and a bunch of other stuff. And thank you, Chris. Dude, I should have brought sunglasses, man. What up? Huge thank you to these guys over here. Premium Auto Styling. You know, when we're gonna change the color of this car, this is the only place that we would go.
I appreciate that.
Thank you,
I appreciate that. I'm excited to do it.
This is the third wrap you're gonna be doing for us.
Let's do a little montage of the wraps that we did.
Oh, good call.
And then let's end it with the
oh no, it's the fourth wrap if you call it. Not
it's the fourth if you count the.
And we got something really special planned for Sabrina's Mazda, so stay tuned for that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we are doing a lot right now. So working with Throtl, working with TJ today, 2 projects being dropped off. Yeah. But I'm really excited about hopping on this one because the color is actually insane.
Yeah,
so,
the color, I'm excited to show you guys. I've never seen an E46 M3 in this color, and the color was inspired by one of my dream cars. Let's go take a look.
Alright, so I don't know if you mentioned it on your video or not, but Metro Restyling actually sent this out to us.
Oh, I saw a sneak peek. Dang, wow, that is sick. Okay, I forgot the name of the color. Gloss Grass Green.
Gloss Grass Green.
And that is bright. And for me, when I was looking online, I was looking at different pictures, different colors to go with. I want to go with something bright. I think we hit that. And it really reminds me of either the McLaren green that I've seen or the Porsche GT3 RS green.
It is the GT3 RS green for sure.
And I think with some cool accents, it's gonna look awesome.
Yeah, so I think, you know, you talked about maybe changing the wheels, change the color of the wheels, do some gloss black accents, it's gonna look really good. Plus the carbon fiber that you have.
Yeah. Dang, let's get TJ and Sabrina's reaction. Where'd they go? Hey, you wanna see the wrap? You ready?
That is bright, dude.
Oh man, I'm so jealous.
Let's bring it out to the sun.
Grass green.
Yeah, it looks like light grass.
Oh, yes. That is gonna look so good. Talk soon. Thanks, guys.
No questions.
Say goodbye to this color. Things are about to change and I'm so excited. Once again, thank you to Premium Auto Styling. Thank you to Metro Restyling. Now it's time to get back down to the shop because we got a lot of stuff to do today.